Good afternoon and hello. So today I'm working on the protagonist of my game, Anne Boleyn. Now she's unlikely to be a combat NPC, but I'm going to create a stat block nevertheless, like what I did with Thomas Cromwell in the previous video. Now I'm still undecided if I want to make Anne Boleyn magical. To be honest, I might just make her a noble and use a stat block for that as a starting point. But I don't know, she's the main character and I want to make her special. Historically, she could play a lot of instruments, which I think was common in those days for people with a more aristocratic or wealthier background, so she could make a good bard. That said, she also studied religion a lot, to say the least. This was especially true when she was young and living in France as a child or teenager. A lot of her studying was actually heavily influenced by the religious formers of the time. She also grew up and lived during the Renaissance, which was a period of enlightenment, and she may have even met Leonardo da Vinci. So yeah, she could definitely suit a cleric, maybe one that worships the gods of knowledge, such as Thoth and Ogma. If I were to go down the bard route though, her story could have been very interesting. Maybe she studied music during her time in France as a child, and was tutored by one of the masters of the day. If I had to pick a bard curriculum though, it would definitely be from the College of Law. The College of Law basically encompasses a bit of everything, which I think would have suited her quite well. It also fits in with the Renaissance theme, as College of Law bards are driven by the pursuit of beauty and truth. They also tend to gather in libraries, which is in line with her academic nature. Another comparison is that they are more open to singing satirical songs and don't shy away from critiquing important statespeople, or poke fun at those who take themselves too seriously. And for those who have seen my How to Design a Villain video, you'll see my main villain in this game is Thomas Cromwell, who is a very shrewd statesman, which is very fitting. However, as I'm going down the cleric route, I'm thinking of choosing a tier 2 cleric, which will put Anne between level 5 and 10. I think this is the ideal tier for her, as I can start to play around with more knowledge-based spells, without making her too powerful of course. After all, she is being held as a prisoner. I really like the spell Non-Detection, which I think is a 5th level spell. It protects against scrying senses, which fits in with the narrative that Cromwell was recruiting spies to try and uncover evidence that she was betraying the king. Scrying, for those who don't know, is a type of divination spell that enables the caster to eavesdrop and watch a target without their knowledge. Arcane Eye is another great spell, as this could be useful in the event of an escape. Arcane Eye is a spell where the caster creates an invisible magic eye that can see as far as 30 feet. It also has dark vision, which is very handy for dark and dismal dungeons. Knowledge-based clerics have some really interesting feats too. Take Knowledge of the Ages, which starts at 2nd level. With this feat, they can tap into a well of divine knowledge and use it to gain proficiency in any skill or tool for 10 minutes. At 6th level, these clerics also develop the Read Thoughts feature, which means they can tap into the thoughts of another creature. And if a cleric has a suggestion spell, this feat really works well with it. The most interesting class feature though, I think, is Visions of the Past, which starts at level 17, and this would have been an ideal feat for Anne to have had I wanted her to be at this advanced level. So with this feature, a cleric can hold an object and learn about its previous owner, and also a significant event that involved this object. With additional good wisdom rolls, they can also learn more about additional owners too, if there were any. Visions of the Past doesn't just work with objects though. A cleric can even learn more about the past of a specific area. So this could be a room, street, and dungeon. It would have been interesting for Anne to learn more about the previous inhabitants of the tower, and potentially any possessions she brought with her into it. Maybe she could have gleaned what the king thought of her from a sapphire ring, or tap into Cromwell's conversations from holding a prayer book. Either way, I'm excited to bring her character to life a bit more. As I'm designing her character sheet, I can see at 7th level she gets access to 11 spells, 4 of which need to be cantrips. Her AC isn't too bad, especially for a cleric, and is a respectable 11. However, as she's an important prisoner and is living in unpredictable times, I may try and boost that with a chain shirt. When Anne wears a chain shirt, her AC is now 14, which I feel a bit better about. I put in placeholders for her ability scores for now, and will revisit them later. As she's a cleric, her highest score should always be Wisdom, as that's what her spells are powered with. The 2 main skills she will be proficient in are Religion and History, as these fit her character best and are also important skills a cleric needs. Also, because Blessings of Knowledge is available from 2nd level, her proficiency in History and Religion is doubled, so instead of being a +3, they are now +6. In terms of languages, Anne could speak French, but I switched this out for Celestial in this game. This may change the more I work on her character, but for now, I feel this language is the best choice, in addition to Common. trickiest part of designing her character is by far choosing the spells. I want to choose spells that will align best with the narrative I want to create. To be honest, knowledge domain clerics in general don't tend to gravitate towards combat spells. Instead, their knowledge comes in useful when skills and information are acquired. So in that sense, it's not too far of a leap to say they make great characters for role-playing. 4 cantrips I've chosen for her are pretty much standard for a cleric, and include Guidance, Light, Sacred Flame, and Thaumaturgy. Her first level spell is Command, and her second level spell is Suggestion. At 3rd level I've chosen Augury and Non-Detection, and at 4th level she has Arcane Eye and Confusion. Her 5th level spell is one of my favourites, which is Scrying. When it comes to actions, she has Channel Divinity, Knowledge of Ages, and Channel Divinity, Read Thoughts. They're both class features that become available at different levels. Out of the two, Read Thoughts is my favourite, as it allows her to be very manipulative, but Knowledge of Ages in a practical sense is very useful, as when she uses this action, she is proficient in a skill or tool for 10 minutes. I've enjoyed developing this character, and I struggled to choose between Cleric or Bard, but I think making her a Cleric was a better decision in terms of the narrative. Next week I may see if I can add some randomness to my game with the new Dungeons & Dragons tarot cards, as I have some very short and sweet story prompts.